So you at the end showed that for cardiovascular disease with LDL there was, counterintuitive that it's increasing, and that in centenarians you find higher levels, despite that it's a risk factor. And what is actually, it's a general trend when you look for the heart disease risk profile. You have increased LPA, increased triglycerides, increased coagulability of the blood, hypercoagulability in centenarians, increased total cholesterol. So they seem to have the full profile of increased heart disease risk, yet they are centenarians. Yes. So that will be my remark. Question? Yes, Edward?
So I had a question about that. When you study very old persons, you may have outliers. So, do you think that such effects could be explained because those persons resist such effects, and if you add statins, you improve them, but they resist such effects naturally? And do you think that perhaps those studies might be better started? I know it's not feasible because things take a lot of time to organize, but a bit before 85, because at 85 you've already removed quite a lot of people, so you've already made some pre-selection, whereas if you start at 65, for example, you make very little selection, and you are still in the aging phase compared to the natural history of lifespan.
Very important question. 85-year-old, how extreme is that? Still, let's say, you are left over with 10% of the survivors. So it's not that extreme as centenarians. And to give you another quote, let's say, women in the Netherlands live for almost a decade when they are aged 85 years. So it's not that extreme. Second is, if they are survivors, and let's say those who were susceptible died off, that is always, that is most often, let's say, the explanation for it. It may be true. But then I'm left over with insensitive people for cholesterol. And that explains, maybe that's the explanation, but then, let's say, think about the gene pool. It's not, let's say, the full variance of the gene pool I have. No, I've left over, let's say, with a certain gene pool. It might well be that they do better, let's say, with a different environment. So if the explanation is selection, that I am ending up with this selective pick, there is a true biological reality that they live longer with a higher cholesterol. So it's not the explanation why it doesn't work. And the third question is, let's say, most of these data can be extrapolated also to the age of 70, and that is about, let's say, the human, let's say, species, that's about where it turns to become, where it becomes different. And selection at the age of 70, that's it, that's not so much. Not more than 20-25% of the population have died.
Did you?
Thank you for this very interesting speech. I have a question for you, but also for Mr. Poulet, actually. So, and that's about what I call the mystery of the super centenarians. We all know that the number of centenarians is rising very fast. We also all know that the oldest person ever was Jeanne Calment. She died now 15 years ago already, and she was 122. And the number of validated supercentenarians at the moment is still around 100. Normally, even statistically, the number of supercentenarians should rise. And it's not rising, I have even the impression that it's decreasing. So why? What's happened? Is this the, I don't know, the pollution? Is this because there is a statistical bias? Or what's the reason why is the number of supercentenarians not rising at all? And also it seems almost that the life expectancy of the centenarians and even more of the supercentenarians is going down. Okay, just the oldest woman in the world just died a few days ago, and at the moment it's 115 for the oldest person.
I think it's just a matter of waiting, that's one. And second, I want to refer to a very nice comment from Michael Poulin. centenarians, yeah, that it has a difficulty in itself. I think that it's better to get the estimates, the cumulative estimates of the mortality risk, let's say for instance after the age of 65 or after the age of 85. And what you see is that you're talking about residual life expectancy, for instance after age 85. And what we see is that at every age after age 85, the survival probabilities at age 86, 87, 88, 89, that is on the decrease. So it's just a matter of waiting that, let's say, the other supercentenarians come. That having said, let's say that it is just a recent phenomenon that in very old age mortality is going down. In my own country, it's only for the last 20 to 30 years that the mortality in very old age is on the decrease. And that's what you need to get, let's say, higher numbers of centenaries and supercentenarians. And it is definitely not there in all countries. You need a kind of environmental, social sophisticating together with a genetic background to get, let's say, the mortality at very old age down. And if that's not happening, I would agree with you, then there is no increase of number of supercentenarians to be expected. But this is the demographic data, and for those who are interested, I think the best data you can find in the, let's say, the Rostock Center of Demography from Jim Popel. But I'm interested for Michael to comment on that also.
Yes, I want to comment on this. I think it's not a good idea to focalize on Jan Kalman. There is, for example, I visited Kamata Ongo in Japan. She was 116, and finally I reached the conclusion that she was only 110. What we have to observe, now that we are more and more critical about age validation, is that it seems that everything stopped at 115, 116. A lot of researchers are still waiting for the person that will replace Jan Kalman. And the question is that person already alive? Who is this person? I would prefer to look, and Rudi was also in this direction, to look to a larger group. For example, in our blue zone we look non-Algerian. I will not be interested from one single person. I am more interested in how people survive from 90 to 100 and so on and so on. So now we have up to 110, enough people to be sure. But above 110, we have still some problem, and the slowdown of the mortality rate is not yet confirmed. There's still a lot of questions because we have so many bias. Some people may appear in your data and some may be fully hidden. So we need to increase our science, and we need to increase also our theory to explain this. But for me, now we are blocked at 115, 116 since about the last 10 years, and that's a key point.